when we connected and you were like, yeah, I was at the Palms when TJM was there. I was like, you got to tell this story on the podcast. So what was that like? I want to talk about Paris too, but what was that like
Yeah.
working at the Palms way back when DJ AM was the man? How did that even happen? Yeah.
Yeah, so I moved to Vegas, literally at graduated college, could not wait to get out of Michigan, packed up my car with no plan. I was like, I'm just gonna head to Vegas and see what happens. Was offered a job in the bathroom of a nightclub, and it was to work at the Palms. And this job actually, it was to be like a hostess at this restaurant that was connected to the Playboy Club. You wore like a corset. But it was there that I watched like the marketing team come and basically bring in celebrities and dine with them. And I was like, what is that job? I want that job. The Palms at the time was like the hottest place in Vegas. It was like that and like Hard Rock were like the two icons, which they were off the strips, at least to go and party. And we had DJ AM residency. We had
Epic.
Paul Oakenfold Perfecto, which actually kind of pioneered um EDM in Vegas.
Yeah.
Prior to that, it was
This is pre EDC, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
pre-EDC, when it was still in LA. And we had the Playboy Club, we had Real World was filmed there. Like it was just epic. And I was like, I was in my 20s. I was like, I was loving it. I just wanted to be around these people. So I just kept harassing them, these marketing team. I'm like, hey guys, I'll do whatever. Like, I'll want me to stuff CDs. I stuff CDs just to be a part of it. And eventually they were like, okay, we have to give you a job. And so they would give me like the crappiest jobs or the crappiest events. And I loved it. My first event that they kind of gave me to take over was the not that this was crappy, it just was less of a priority with AM and Oakenfold,
Sure.
was the Playboy Club model search. And this was a really innovative event series because every month we would run a contest for like locals to come, or people actually flew in from LA, ladies. We would set up a photo op in the club. We would run the photo shoot. And then at the end, we would choose a winner and they would then get the month in the calendar that we would produce. And then at the end of the year, I would send all of the selections to Playboy Enterprise,
Oh wow.
and Hugh Hefner would select a winner. And then we would do like a big, like, grand party to celebrate them.
That's epic.
Yeah. And so, but this was at the time a bit of like the Playboy Club was starting to lose its momentum, which was why it was like, all right, you can have that one, that venue to take over.
Mhm.
And then that was also at the time where DJ AM sadly passed
Passed away.
away. Yeah. And when that happened, it really, for the Palms, shifted a lot of I started to see its demise shortly after that. So I stayed on. I was there for 4 years total.
Yeah.
I love like that career really has instilled so much of what I do today. I always think about, and I'm sure you understand this, like I worked very closely with the DJs, and I was the buyer. I would buy the talent. So the Playboy Club is where I started, but then I also took over Moon Nightclub. I don't know if you're familiar. We had this like retractable roof. It was connected to the Playboy Club. I worked at the Rain Nightclub, which was the big one. We
Yeah.
had Ghost Bar. We had the Palms Pool, and you would select the DJs that could control the energy
Of the
of
room.
the night.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And this is where I learned that skill, and I use this skill into all of my events today. And it's from this experience that I think it's like that it's that soft skill. Yeah.
Love that. And then you somehow you ended up in, I think this is after Paris, right? So it was like Paris, Vegas, and then you took a leap to go to San Francisco and said, "I'm gonna organize events for like startups and tech founders," and like how did that happen?
Yeah, so actually Paris came after Vegas.
Oh, Paris came after. Okay,
Yeah,
you got to tell
so
the Paris story.
so 4 years in Vegas will do something to you.
Yeah, it'll make you rethink your
Yeah.
life.
Like coming home at 4 a.m., like just
Yeah.
like the craziness. I was like, is this gonna be the rest of my life? And I decided I wanted something totally different. So I again like kind of packed my suitcase and just moved to Paris without a visa. Like,
Illegally.
just thinking I'd just figure it out there, and I stayed there 9 months illegal, and I eventually came back, got a visa, and did it right, but, and there, I worked again, just I took the first job I could really get that I
Mhm.
wanted, which was to kind of be I was like this American VIP hostess in Paris. I don't know, they were just like, "Here, just entertain our guests."
Right, right, right.
In this really, like, very posh, exclusive, like, hard to get into nightclub that was, like, below a restaurant, and it was super chic and, like, models it was so cool, I loved
Models
it.
and bottles kind
Yeah,
of
model
vibes.
and this is actually where I came up with the name of my business because I would greet guests and I would just say bonsoir, bonsoir. And I just would say it over and over and over again. And people would reply to me in French and I'd be like, that's all I know. But it was also there that picked up another a skill is like how the French build their brand. Like
Mm,
in Vegas, money talks.
right.
You can get in the club if you
Slide the bouncer a couple grand or buy
exactly.
6 bottles and
Exactly.
guest list.
That's your entry. In Paris, it does not matter. It matters who you are and if you
Mm,
have the right look. We would turn down, it doesn't matter. Money never spoke there, but it was all about the brand. Like what's the look? What's the vibe we want to create? And that's who will allow in. And
mm,
then that skill goes into so much of what I do today with my events. Um, so after I ended up staying in Paris for almost 2 years, realized I wanted to get out of nightlife and it was really hard to get a job otherwise. And I moved here to San Francisco Bay Area shortly after with a bit of a transitional job. And yeah, kind of fell in with my proximity to founders and investors.
mhm.
Um, Fell into events catering more to them. I did when I first moved here, which also I say I moved to the other Paris because San Francisco Bay Area is actually called its nickname Paris of the West.
Interesting, I never
Uh,
knew that.
yeah, it's actually not a lot of people know
Mm,
that, but it's very Parisian, it's very European, and I love that about it. Very walkable. And I worked for a startup. We actually got acquired by a large Fortune 50. That whole experience was awesome to go through. I just wrote a post like, what I learned from that is all the people at the top get all the money.
you all the minions, all the pawns, they don't get nothing.
We don't get
Yeah,
anything, but it was such a great experience. I loved all of it. I'm still so close with everybody I worked with.
sure.
Yeah, and I learned also that when I did go on to the big who acquired us at Mastercard and realized, ooh, corporate is not for me.
Yeah, it's a different
Yeah,
vibe, different
yeah,
caliber of event, different type of energy.
yeah,
Um, you can coming from a DJ background, right? You can look at it as like those are 2 different nightclubs, right? Or 2 different
yeah.
vibes from the crowd that you're gonna get.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, each part of my journey has placed a role into like how I think about events. And so the MasterCard, I realized there, like, ooh, okay, I was doing these kind of Priceless Experiences. So that's what they acquired, an experiential platform that at that startup it was kind of like Airbnb, but we had really extraordinary experience. We
So
also had,
what would be an example of like
yeah,
like a crazy experience, like one of the most top dollar
yeah,
crazy things that they threw money at?
yeah. So the probably what we were known, like our staple was we had meet and greets with celebrities,
Okay.
and the highest ticket one was meet and greets with the Rolling Stones.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and we would sell those to the same people over and over.
That's some great recurring revenue.
And they are it was $35,000 just to me.
What?
Yeah.
For how long?
Okay, this is the best part. Barely 90 seconds.
What? What did they wave at them like going by in the limo?
So the meet and greets with the Rolling Stones was a little bit longer. So
Okay.
I actually loved working with them because we would send them a brief bio, and the band would actually read it. So they had a bit of a precursor of who they were going in to meet and
Okay.
something to kind of talk and connect with. But most meet and greet with celebrities, they don't ask for that, and it's literally less than 90 seconds because you're meeting somebody random, and it's
Right.
kind of like, what do you talk about? And
It's like,
and
hey, I love all of your albums. My kids listen to you.
they're
Like,
just like, yeah, thank you. They're not going to ask you about you and your family.
yeah. So what do you do for your job?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Rolling Stones were a little bit longer than that, but yeah, it would sell out like that, and it would be the same people, just people,
Interesting.
just mega fans, mega fans. It was a lot of slow. So we actually had this kind of bad rap that our company it was make a wish for rich people.
That's actually a great tagline. Well, it probably not
Yeah.
so great for like public, yeah, like the public,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
public
So
reputation.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I did some really cool shit with them. So not
Yeah.
even just the celebrity stuff. It was like access into like really cool wineries that you
Yeah.
couldn't normally access. Some cool, oh, I worked with like this Navy SEAL guy who would come and take you in the woods and teach you how to like make fire.
Wow.
I actually still work with this guy because VC is like like those kind of experiences too.
So it's like a like, hey, we're gonna drop you off in the middle of the California redwoods, and
Yeah.
you have to figure out how to survive for the next 3 days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And those are skills that you can take in and like apply to business as well. So they're pretty like transferable, like making decisions or making resources with what you have access to,
Yeah.
and yeah, and survival techniques. Yeah. So when MasterCard acquired us, they have a very different a demographic, and it was more like paint night with your family.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Movie night, paint night,
yeah.
Easter egg
All
hunting, scavenger hunt, kind of.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. More family fun, which is great too. And there's a need for that, but did not fulfill
I
my
feel that.
yeah. So
And then you
so
pivoted to the Bonsoir, and
yes.
what was? I imagine that you took all these skills, all of this, these high end events, and all this stuff that you learned, and packaged that into what you guys do today for your customers.
Yes. So when I left to launch the Bonsoir, one of my first partners that I still work with um, is called the Supper Club. And it's a private members club that gathers over dinner at different restaurants.
Interesting.
And actually hosting one tonight for them. So I loved it. I loved the idea of people coming together, breaking bread. We don't actually talk a lot about work, but we're just having this communal experience, and and the deepening of the connection, like the connections that you make. I am so close with all of the members still. I've been
Mm-mm-mm.
involved in that for 3 years. And there's just really something primal about that. Like, this is something humans have been doing since, the day of
Making
dawn.
fires. Yeah, making
Yeah,
fires and
gathering.
killing
Yeah.
buffaloes.
Yeah. And then
Roasting
we're gathering,
buffalo.
yeah, roasting buffalo. When we're gathering over, we're talking about our day. We're relaxing a bit from the stress, and
Sure.
we're just being, present and connecting. And there's something really special about that, that I picked up from that, chapter of my life. It's the membership model is to me, I think it's a hard one to master. So
Okay.
I ended up, with my proximity to Silicon Valley, and basically all of my friends are building something. I started to pivot more to helping, or not helping, but doing events for they are helping, doing events for founders. And then I realized, what do founders need more than anything? They need capital.
Yep.
And so it's pivoted more towards investors, because that streams down to help founders too.
Love it. And then what have been some of the, like if you, I know you have the gather framework, which we'll talk
Hmm.
about, but what are some of the things you feel like, organizers or people who are like pursuing this model as a means of connection or as a means of revenue generation? Like, what are some of the things you think that they missed the mark on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing, I think, is when you're hosting a dinner or you're hosting an event. I think the reason for hosting or bringing people together is not niche enough. It's usually like, oh, I just want to bring together founders and investors.
Right.
But that's too broad,
Too
and
generic,
it's too generic.
not
And
sexy,
yeah, and
not bonsoir, no, not bonsoir.
I think, like, take the Simon Sinek model of, like, the start with why. What is the purpose? What is the goal? What is the shift that you're trying to get? Get really nitty gritty, be really specific. And I know people are concerned that they're gonna, then not be able to reach more, enough people. But actually, you'll be able to connect way more with a select few than, like, mediocre with everyone.
Sure.
And I think the cost, the effort and money that goes in will it will have way more of an impact if you have way more of a, targeted approach than this kind of like,
Pray and spray.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's one. Two, and this one kind of plays into this, is then once you have this really like targeted goal, like, I want founders, it could be early stage, but that just focus on this vertical, in environmental. I don't know, but are in between ages 30 and 40, and maybe have one child, like
That's
that
super
kind of
specific.
super, super specific. It'll actually be easier for you to curate your guest list when it is that specific. And then everybody there at the event are going to have so much more in common than just work. And that's actually where people connect.
Mm-mm-mm.
So when you're building your guest list, it's just as important. And no plus ones. No plus
Nope,
ones.
you're not a
No.
plus one fan. Can I bring my cousin or my
No,
my
no
coworker,
friends or
my
family.
co-founder? You're not a fan.
No,
Yeah.
no. It's
Okay.
because when you close the door to the people that are not fulfilling the purpose of your event, like whatever your goal is, you're being generous to those who are there.
It's a good reframe.
Yeah.
It's a good reframe.
So the generosity is like, people are coming here for a reason, and time is so valuable, and let's be generous to them by, not, allowing the neighbor to join just because, they're nice and you feel bad. If you feel bad, don't invite that person.
Sure.
Yeah.
What about your I think the way you talk about like the actual experience, like so like I think getting people to the room, like
Mhm.
curating the actual experience is that's like one thing, right? The guest
Mhm.
list. But when people are actually in the room, and maybe this is part of your gather framework, like how do you think about um the vibe or the atmosphere of that room, and like how do you modulate that to create the experience for the outcome that you're looking to get?
Yeah. Yeah, so this is where I think, like, the framework that I have developed, which is, an easy one to remember because the acronym is GATHER. So G is stands for the guest list. We just went over that. A is for atmosphere, and that's like the venue, the space. And I always this is another one where I see, you know, people because of budgets, they'll host events in the office and get catering, Costco sushi.
Don't do
And
that.
yeah, or just like venues that don't have the infrastructure to host an event are a nightmare to work with.
Mm,
They're not built. And when you're hosting at your home, don't. Like, unless you are a professional and you bring in a professional, your home is not built to host an event. It's built to host your family.
mm,
Some homes are. So-
yeah.
and those are nice homes. So when people come to me and they're like, "Oh, I want to do it in my home." I'm like, "Actually, that's way more work as a producer.
Mhm,
It's because your house, your kitchen, just the flow, the layout, where are people gonna hang and mingle. So the atmosphere is super important, and I recommend investing in that because that will pay off for the production. T is timing, but actually, and these are, you can actually engineer a bit of the flow. You can, not even a bit, you can with
mhm.
the timing. So, for example, when I do a dinner, I always have a sort of welcome or cocktail reception. And the reason is, yes,
I give
uh,
this a thumbs up.
yes. It could be 30 minutes, that's fine, an hour is better, and that's because people don't always arrive at time, and you don't want people to sit down at dinner and there's holes at the table, and it's super awkward for the first or 2 people. So and then throughout the night, how you pace the meal will create these kind of ebbs and flows, just like your DJing. You
Yep.
do high BPM, low PPM. It creates these flows and conversations as well. So there's way to engineer with that. But I've been thinking actually, timing is important, but also is turnkey. If you're a host and you're not also the producer, which I always recommend to try and separate because it's so much work and you cannot be totally present as a host if you're also producing. It's a lot to hold two of those things at once. So having an event that is turnkey where all of the production is taken care of and built allows you to get so much more out of being present, connecting with people, not worried about what's going on in the kitchen, not worrying about the person that canceled at the last minute and you're
AV.
trying to fulfill. Yeah, not worry. Oh, the AV. Oh my God. So turnkey, I actually think is maybe even more important than timing. High touch is for H. Everything I do is high touch. And this is also where I'm seeing us go with the automation, with
Mhm.
AI. We're trying to, scale speed, but high touch, you can't scale. And I actually think because of that, that's the edge. So, what are we doing? The invitation process. People are automating this, and this kills me. Just like I die.
Yeah,
We should,
we talked about
yeah.
this, and I think your philosophy is like if somebody's inviting you to it, like, it's an intimate experience to begin with, so, like, by virtue of you sending out a blast to, like, random people and
Yeah.
not curating it, like, you're kind of, like, watering down the experience
Yeah.
to some
You're
degree.
well, I mean, think about you receiving an invitation that way. It's you don't feel personally invited. You don't
Yeah.
feel personally wanted. You don't feel valued. You feel like sheep.
Feel like a number that's checking a
Yeah,
box, yeah.
like, "Oh, I'm just trying to help you." That person is thinking, "Oh, the amount I'm gonna my metrics are by how many people I have at this event, not really like who is coming at the event." And
Yeah,
so this is the biggest thing I see is how people are inviting. And I think we need to be going back to like the old ways and picking up the phone, sending a text. This is minimal. I love in physical invitations. I think that I think we should start doing that again. We used to do it. Nobody does it anymore. All my clients fight with me. I don't got addresses. Well, get the addresses.
yeah.
Um, and I mean, if there's pigeon posts, like send a pigeon. Like, can you imagine? Like you got an invitation with a pigeon?
Yeah, that'd be wild.
It
Yeah,
would be wild. So the high touch is super important, making the event so personal so that person really feels valued and invested in because this is what's happening with the automation is we're losing that.
right. And then the experience and relationships, I think, are the other components. Like, do like, as part of the experience, I wanted to get your take on this, like, pitching at events, right? Because like, a lot of times, right, we're using events as, at least in my world, we're using events to some degree as like a funnel, right? You're trying to get
Mhm.
or the client, right? They're hiring us to come in and say, "Hey, we're doing this event where we're putting our ICP in a room." And the goal is for those people to eventually become buyers of some sort or like to
Yeah.
deepen the relationship at some point to be able to monetize that. How do you feel about pitching at the event? And yeah, like overall, how do you feel about that? What's your take? I'm curious.
Yeah. So I'm pretty at one, I think there's a format for the pitching events,
Okay.
and then I think there's a format for no pitching. And the only type of format that I think where pitching is okay is literally pitch events. Or content. So, you want to provide some education and it's valuable education. You have a really amazing speaker that's a super draw, that people can walk away with a ton of value. And that's the reason for them going. Dinners, networking, anything that you're promoting as just kind of bringing together I don't think you should pitch. I
Got it.
think the purpose is to build the relationship, build the trust, but and get them to open the door. Like get them to just lean in a little bit more. A- and when you come in from that, they're going to let their guard down.
Sure.
Because so many times they're coming in and they're like, "Oh, I don't wanna be sold to." But if you don't sell to them, and then your strategy is to follow up with them afterwards, and you share, like, some photos or you say, "Hey, it was so great, like, I loved getting to know you, like, blah, 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 let's have it be super personal, and, like, we should talk." Or, like, then get the meeting on the calendar
Right.
and then drive it home.
Right.
I
Right. Right.
don't think the event is the purpose. The event is the vehicle to get you to where you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I pitched at our dinner. We had a conversation about this.
Yeah.
I'm of the camp of like, if you do a great job and you lead with value, like soft pitch, like don't like hit
Yeah.
people over the head and just be like, "Hey, you gotta buy." I think it's important to like establish that trust,
Yeah.
baseline trust. But I also, like, I also understand that like, there's a monetary component. but you also don't have to rush that. And I think with
Yeah.
what you're saying, there's a lot of no one likes to be sold to, but everybody likes to buy. It's a classic phrase that we also always say in business,
Yeah.
right? But if you can solve if you can get to understand their problem, I think that's the biggest thing. Like if you really understand their problem and you soft pitch, like I would be open to that. But I do think there's a
Mhm.
time and a place, and the goal is to build the relationship and to build the trust, and that eventually gets you in the door to be able to have the conversation to like really like close. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, agreed. And I will say, like, my advisor is always like, "You need to sell more." Like, I do take this very softer approach. And I have really, really long sales cycles, probably because I'm not super aggressive. But so there is something to say I could probably push it a little bit more. But I like what you had said, like, this is a long game.
Right.
And this is also the reason why I do not do one-off events with clients because I
Mm.
can't get them. Yeah,
Preach.
I cannot get I know what the outcome is, and it does not happen with one event. It happens with a series
Series.
over a long period of time. And so much of the magic happens before the event and especially after the event. So,
Love it.
yeah. Yeah.
Relationships.
Yeah. So end game is the goal, which we talked about, like the purpose that will drive the and literally once you have the goal in mind, you reverse engineer everything to drive that home. And then we have the relationships. And this is kind of what I just talked to.
Mhm.
The event is actually where you don't really build the relationship. The
Mm.
event is where you get them to open up, but the relationship is built as soon as you invite them. Like that's where it starts. And then it keeps going afterwards. So when I talk a lot with people or my clients or even friends, they're like, we'll host this big event and then nobody follows up. Like that's such a
Thumbs down.
miss.
Yeah.
You should have a strategy in place before and after. And there's a way, again, with the timing of like how to effectively do it that creates this momentum. And if they're not able to come to your event, the amount of business I've gotten from people not able to coming to my event, because it's kind of like you create a little FOMO and they're like, oh man, I would have liked to go into that
Yeah.
event. Or thank you so much for inviting me in such a thoughtful way. What else do you got cooking up?
Right.
Like it's okay if they don't come. So the relationships is so much actually more outside of the event. That's why I say kind of like when you have the event, let like don't worry too much about the selling because it's not going to happen there anyways. It's going to happen
Mhm.
afterwards.
Post event.
Yeah.
What's some of the pre and post, like maybe one or two of the best strategies, or you know, um, you know, I don't want to call them hacks, but one of the like
Mhm.
pre and post. So like, what are some of the coolest things that you've seen done before?
Yeah, so I did this more in Vegas. When I did this event called Hair Wars, and we invited local salons to have a competition, and we would turn the nightclub. We would put in like a catwalk, and we would come up with a theme. And they would design, like create a model, do the hair and makeup, and they would compete and they would get an award and all, it was small, but kind of more bragging rights.
Right.
And I would have the invitations like handcrafted towards the theme. And you can get so creative on Etsy. I love Etsy for invitations. And I had one of the themes was Lady Gaga. This is, 15 years ago. And do you remember her glasses with like the
Yeah.
rhinestones? It was like, so
Big
I,
and
yeah.
out there.
So I had those made, and those were part of the invitation. And I drove hand delivered these to all
Damn.
the salons.
That's dedication. That's not a pray
Yes.
and spray. That's a drive and deliver right there. Yeah.
And it just creates the excitement, and they put more effort and momentum into the models that they brought to the club, which then created is better production. This was also like a super low production for the organizer because,
Mhm.
the salons are doing it. So I love a thoughtful physical invitation. And if you can have it hand delivered, even better, but even just mailing it, like nobody gets physical
Physical
gifts
mail, yeah.
anyway. So that's a strategy. Post event, also use that strategy. What I hate swag.
Everybody's
Yeah.
throwing money at swag that no one
Oh,
uses.
but you know what I love is maybe a thoughtful gift, a personalized keepsake that's shipped to me afterwards. So I'm not lugging it around at
Mm-mm.
the event
At the conference.
or at my hotel if I flew in and thinking about how to get this back home with me. And I get home, and then all of a sudden there's a package that's arrived, and it reminds me of the great time that I just had. I think that's a strategy.
I love that.
Yeah, that many
We
people are
we
doing.
we did a mastermind this earlier this year, depending on when you listen to this recording. And
Mm.
one of the part of the programming for the event is we had a tea party. So everybody had their own little, it was like a cast iron tea set. And so like we made tea, and it was like these little cast iron
Yeah.
teacups. And we sat around drinking tea and like sharing wisdom,
Oh, I love
a
it.
Japanese tea style ceremony kind of
Yeah,
thing. And everybody got to take those back with them.
I love
And we
that.
followed up. I mean, we followed up with some people, and they're like, "Oh, my wife loves this set," and so I like what you're saying there. Like it's also a good hook, right? They're gonna remember you
Yeah,
for this personalized thing that like they always like they keep it in their kitchen, right? Or their wife
yeah.
uses it all the time. They're not gonna forget who gave them that.
I love that, and let me ask you, did you put your brand on that tea set?
No,
You don't need to.
yeah,
They'll still think of you, and the fact that maybe their wife, let's say it's the husband who came, but their wife loves it, that is meaningful.
yeah.
And so that's another thing. Like, stop putting your brand all over the items. People don't want it. They'll still think of you if you give them something of value.
Fair.
Yeah.
So we do this segment on the podcast, Megan, this has been great, call one
Hmm.
by one by one. So
Yeah.
one room of influence that you've been in, that's had a meaningful impact on your life. And then one a book that you have recently read or that's in your queue to read, and
Mm.
then one final thought or quote.
Oh, okay. One room. I mean, there's been so many rooms, but I will say two about 2 years ago, I hosted a dinner that I wanted to turn into a series, and it became too much work, but I want to pick it up. But this room, so I saw someone speak at this event, and I really wanted her to come and attend this dinner in this room. Sadly, she wasn't able to make it, but because it opened up a channel of communication with us, I was able to invite her to brunch, and we had a one-on-one. And 2 years later, she's now an advisor in my company. So
Oh, beautiful.
although she wasn't actually able to be in the room, she had some health issues. She said she would. She really appreciated it. It doesn't matter. It opened up the door for actually me to even have a more intimate experience
Yeah.
and build that trust. So, and it started with a dinner. I mean, I think dinners are the most effective strategy for events.
I'm a fan. Thumbs up.
Yes, I know you are.
Thumbs up.
Good job. So that room. And for the book, ooh, this one's hard because I have so many. I love the one that I recommend for that I think is applicable to so many people is called Unimaginable Hospitality.
Mm,
And it was written by the former manager of oh my God, Madison Park, the famous like triple star in New York. And just the way that he thinks of all the little tiny details
Details.
that goes into hospitality, and that they all it's like the 1%, like it just adds up and compounds. And this is what gets you Michelin star. And it's a long game and it's constantly tweaking. But I think every business and every founder and every investor can apply this to everything. So unimaginable hospitality, highly
Love it.
recommend. Sinek Semek did the opening for that too. And then what was the last one?
One final thought or quote.
Oh, okay. In the world of AI and automation, use that to automate. I want to be mindful, actually, to not automate the things that you cannot automate. And you cannot automate people, you
Mm,
cannot automate relationships. So if you are using AI or any automation tool to do that, it's not going to work. And in fact, it's going to reject people. So that's my last thought.
love it. If people want to connect with you, what's the best place to reach you and, hear what you're up to, if they want to work with you or just, connect with you,
Yeah.
learn more.
So LinkedIn, I share a lot about how I build events and tips and spaces to check out. You can find me there at Curate with Megan. You can reach out to me, find me through my website, the Bonsoir.
The bonsoir. You
The
have to say it with
Bonsoir.
a French like
Yeah.
vibe, like accent. Bonsoir.
Yeah. Yeah. Thebonsoir.com. My email is Megan at thebonsoir.com as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This has been a
Yeah.
lot of fun. Love hearing the backstory of how you ended up at the Palms illegally, like living in Paris, and the Gather framework. I'm sure is going to be great for people out there who are organizing and putting together rooms.